So what about the holidays? Now the holidays, as we look into where we are, again, depending upon our faith tradition or whatever else, we have some American holidays coming up. And depending upon who died, I would even start with the period of time starting with Halloween. And the reason I do that is because if there's children involved, Halloween is a very, very difficult time for most families who have either lost a parent or a child or something. Then, depending upon the faith, we could be going through something that reminds us of death and dying a lot anyway. Then, of course, we have now, but then, Thanksgiving coming up, and then and we had Jewish holidays in October. So we have different, this is a very holiday-rich time period. But the one thing about the holidays is that, and you may have noticed this already, and a lot of times people start to feel this about a month ahead. So we already could be experiencing these thoughts for Thanksgiving, is that the holidays will tend to make this feel like it's all happening all over again. That's the bad news. The good news is the recovery period is a lot faster. But it tends to have that effect on people. By nature, the holidays tend to be full of memories. And so right off the bat, we're doomed because we can't help but be bombarded with memories of, how it could have been, how it used to be, where he should be, where she should be, et cetera, et cetera. There are constant reminders at the holidays, everything from depending on how we decorate to who shows up, where we usually sit for Thanksgiving dinner, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to talk about seating and Thanksgiving in a minute. There are many family complexities in many families. Some families get together and everyone's happy, lovey-dovey and everything else, but many are not that way. And so many pressures go on in the holiday time period without any of this to complicate that. It's a very stressful time for many people. It can be a very anxious time. And living here, it's very cold and it's very dark. So those are already difficult to deal with for most people, for many people, let's say, is that darkness, the cold. Many people, as I said in the last one here, are isolated, particularly the elderly, don't get out as much. So you couple all those things together, and this time period, let's say from now through January, can be a very, very difficult time. So here's two strategies to avoid, in a sense. And they're two extremes in many ways, and I put them here purposely, and we'll talk about the everything in between in a second. The one strategy is to completely assume everything should be the same. And the reality is it doesn't have to be. And in fact, usually it's not the healthiest way to deal with it, to just make everything the same, in a sense, as if nothing ever happened. Someone said to me the other night, well, I'm purposely doing everything the same as a way of honoring the memory of so-and-so. That's okay. I mean, we're consciously, thinking about it and trying to bring them into it or whatever. But the reality is the pressure. In many ways, we want to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, whatever you want to call it. And so someone to have to do everything they would have done and deal with a death at the same time is very, very hard. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we always went to so-and-so's house for dinner, and so-and-so always made these 7 things, and we brought this, and everybody, that doesn't have to remain the same. The people can, and we'll talk on the next slide, talk about it and say, you know what, this year is different. I mean, I think it's fair that families should recognize that it is different and that it should feel different. And maybe it shouldn't feel as happy as it did last year when we were all together. And that's okay, because that's real. Sort of pretending we're all happy because it's a holiday, in quotes, is a funny kind of odd thing, because everyone will tell you at the end, well, that was all fake. As a matter of fact, I found it more frustrating than if I didn't go at all. The other extreme is escaping, whether it be physically or through substance abuse or something else, just drinking myself into the point where I just miss the day. That obviously doesn't work either. But the physical escape, what I want to say about that is that some people will try to go away. Now, if a family wants to go away and celebrate in a smaller way, it's different, so it's not the same, and they just don't think they can handle being home, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm talking about is, one individual is just saying, I have to go, and they go away on their own, only to find out that all the memories that were with them wherever they were in place A are just as present in place B, and then they're more frustrated because they're alone. And So you can't really escape. You know that. Wherever you go, these memories go along with you. But the types of things that you can do, and I have some specific examples, but as a general rule, Kenneth Doka is a well-known person who deals with bereavement, and this is his sort of advice, these 3 C's. He's saying that the first thing you do is that you choose, and the person who is really the closest to the person who died should really get to make a lot of the choices, because that's the individual who probably needs to be able to get the most to go their way. But once you made these choices, you want to communicate with the others who are going to be there. So if it's a Thanksgiving dinner type thing and 12 people are coming, I would sort of tell them what you're thinking of doing, especially if it's going to be different. And then to compromise. If someone says, well, I really wish you would do such and such, then, okay, well, it really would be hard for me to do it, but if you could do it, you know, then that's okay with me. But I just can't cook the pumpkin pie because it's just so whatever, okay? So the point I'm trying to make to you is to feel empowered enough to change things. And to be honest with you, if some of your family doesn't handle it well, change, they need everything to be the same, try to realize that's their issue. There's something wrong with them that they can't change. It's not your problem, it's their problem. Now, I know that many families that can cause a lot of grief, and you don't need additional grief on top of your grief, I realize that, but I'm just saying that, you know, sometimes people have to lighten up and realize that this is tough, all right? And these things you're going through are difficult.